the final card. Solar value 52, the King of Spades. The last card, or if you look at it from the left, the first card on the crown line, a fixed card. One of three fixed cards next to the Jack of Hearts and the Eight of Clubs. Here we find final mastery. It's a card that is rather lonely at the top. Not only as part of the crown line, but also as the last and highest card in the entire deck of cards. It has an interesting life path with an odd card in Mercury with the Three of Hearts and an odd card in Pluto with the Seven of Hearts. And in between, it's got a beautiful mix of odd cards and even cards, but also fairly self-centered cards. 2 aces, a 5, a 10, and 2 threes. 3 of Hearts, 3 of Diamonds. So let's have a look at it. The final card, the most powerful card, for which there's only one birthday, January 1st. The King of Spades embodies the summit of spiritual mastery, personal discipline, and responsibility. Those born with this card have come to complete the cycle, carrying within them the echoes of every card before, yet walking a path entirely their own. Let's have a look at the 8 planetary influences that shape this potent archetype. Under Mercury, we find the Mercury card on the Mercury line, the 3 of Hearts. And that means that the King of Spades has a mind that constantly dances with emotional complexity. 3 of Hearts comes from the 2 of Hearts, comes from the union in love, that partnership, very dependable, reliable, passive energy, and now all of a sudden it's variety. Because the King of Spades knows how to play those hearts energies. Because he's the master of everything. He can direct his attention and his power and his resolve and his decisions to any direction or any area, any quality, any card in any suit. The King of Spades may appear composed on the outside, but this influence shows a curious, often playful inner dialogue that explores the nuances of love, relationships, and vulnerability. It grants mental flexibility in emotional situations, which is lovely, though it may also create a split between heart and mind, because all the threes are more mental. And here we've got a mental card with a 3 in the position of the mind, which is Mercury, but related to the heart. A split between heart and mind. The contrast is important. It reminds the king that even masters are still students when it comes to the affairs of the heart. Beautiful. You have arrived at the last point. You're the last card. You're the highest card, and yet the mind is playful. The mind explores. The mind creates variety. The mind is creative. In the hearts department, it's a lovely energy. It's a very juxtaposed in a way, because here's like the strong king, but the mind says, "Hey, no, I'm at the top, but I can play. I can explore. I can reconnect, and I can, in a way, restart at the lowest level," which is not really the lowest level, but it's just the way we've devised the system and interpreted it, that we start with a heart suit that is representing the spring season. Where sort of, it's all about love, it's all about the desire to procreate, to multiply. And the King of Spades certainly knows about that. In Venus, we find a semi-fixed card, and that is the Ace of Clubs. So here we find an intense hunger for meaningful connections through conversation and shared ideas. And because the Ace of Clubs is connected to the 2 of Hearts, that 2 of Hearts energy also plays a role here in the life of the King of Spades. That cannot be separated. The Ace of Clubs desires intellectual intimacy And for the King of Spades, this influence reveals a deep longing not just to be understood, but to inspire. Because the Ace of Clubs inspires, it's that the desire for knowledge. And also to share this knowledge with others, because it's in the Venus field. Relationships with others. But it's certainly mentally very clear what it wants in relationships. After all, it's a king. You should be clear. And it takes the initiative in the relationship field and with others, because it's a king. And the kings don't wait for orders. The kings don't wait for things to happen. They do it themselves. Partnerships are strongest when there's a shared mission or philosophy. Still, this placement warns against becoming too isolated in one's brilliance and encourages genuine dialogue over one-sided speech. Because the king can lecture, and the Ace of Clubs in Venus can lecture others. Because, I'm number one, me, myself, and I. But there, it encourages genuine dialogue over one-sided speech. Not an easy card in a Ace of Clubs in Venus, but with a Two of Hearts connection, semi-fixed card, Ace of Clubs, Two of Hearts connected, semi-fixed cards, that stabilizing, passive, loving union energy also comes in here and certainly assists. If you had this card as a birth card, it would be more of a challenge, because it's in your quest for knowledge, Ace of Clubs, you usually compromise the relationship department. But here it's the king, and the king can say to the Two of Hearts, come in, this energy. And the Two of Hearts would be a lovely energy in Venus. The king knows. Whether those born on January 1st know, that's another question all together. Then we come to Mars and we find the Queen of Clubs. It's a very intuitive card, and it's in the spiritual spread, the card that sits on the Jupiter line in the Jupiter column. So Jupiter conjunction. Here it has said, all right, I'm going to place myself in the Mars position on the Mercury line. So it's a Mercury-Mars conjunction. So it brings that warrior's intuition in a way, sharpened by knowledge and experience. It says the Queen of Clubs arms the king with the warrior's intuition sharpened by knowledge and experience. And the Queen of Clubs means being in service with knowledge. And with Mars, there's that very convinced and convincing and purposeful and driven energy behind that service with knowledge. This is the card of the spiritual matriarch, fierce, wise, and quietly commanding. When driven by this force, the king acts with calm conviction, using truth as a weapon and understanding as armor. It's a reminder that real strength is measured not in domination, but in guidance and clarity. And the Queen of Clubs certainly has both, because the queens have that service element. They guide. They don't do it for you, but they show you the way. And they certainly have, because they are in the court of the suit of the intellect, of the mind, of communication, they certainly have that mental clarity. And it's a beautiful balance, because the Queen is more on the softer side, but Mars is more on the harder side. And here, with obviously once again with consciousness, you can use those rather in normal under normal circumstances conflicting energy, because they're driven and purposeful and almost aggressive. Mars is not really like compatible with a softer Queen of Clubs. But again, we're talking about the King of Spades here. And that Queen of Clubs can be your annual Mars card, because the Queen of Clubs is not a fixed card, it's not a semi-fixed card. So she travels around with those other 45 cards. And she can easily be your annual Mars card, and that's when that energy comes in, and that's where you need to be conscious of that, because then you need to handle that. The one that wants to move forward, which is clear, which helps having a queen there, but the queen also adds a little bit of softness to that. The Jupiter, and again, Jupiter expands what it touches, and here we've got a very strong card, and that's the Ten of Spades. This is a deeply karmic blessing. It's a card of its own suit, King of Spades, Ten of Spades. The Ten of Spades in Jupiter speaks of tremendous success through disciplined service. For the King of Spades, wealth is not just material, it's energetic, built from years of effort, resilience, and perseverance. This card amplifies the king's role as a teacher or leader who earns his crown not by demand, but by devotion to purpose. Devotion to purpose. The king and the queen, they rule at the same level, and they are devoted to their kingdom. We have lost a little bit of that, because for us, kings and queens are representatives, but more figureheads. They're not really doing the work. And the idea that they're leading by example and that they have a kingdom that they're taking care of, really taking care of, that idea is long gone. Because now we had the crafty politicians move in and take away that and destroy the monarchy. Who's behind it? I don't know. But there you see sort of what once served, and that may have been many, many moons ago, now has been replaced by something that no longer serves. And the kings and the queens are more indulging and less using the power that they actually have energetically for the benefit of their kingdom. Because king and queen energy comes with a tremendous amount of responsibility. People forget that. Devotion to purpose. Saturn likes even cards. Here it gets a fat odd card. Odd suit, clubs, odd card, 5. 5 of clubs. Saturn's influence challenges the king to evolve his thinking. The 5 of clubs pushes for intellectual freedom and philosophical transformation. Life will often demand a shedding of old belief systems, even those the king once held sacred. Adaptability here is key. If he resists, rigidity becomes his burden. If he embraces change, he becomes a vessel of renewed wisdom. And once again, that is patently obvious, because if you're at the top, it doesn't mean that you have arrived at the end. It's constant renewal. And that 5 of clubs teaches and helps the King of Spades to embody that renewal, to stay mentally flexible. Because new times move in, the zeitgeist is changing, and that requires a different mind, a different understanding, and from that understanding, different decisions that once again benefit the kingdom. So here, if the King of Spades becomes either too rigid, but also on the far side of that 5 of clubs becomes too scattered with his thoughts, problems ensue. So it needs to stay flexible, but Saturn demands of that 5 of clubs, go out, expand, search for new information, minds, new intellect, new ideas, but come back and give it order and structure. That is so important for the 5 of clubs, especially under Saturn. And then here for the King of Spades. Because once again, you can have a 5 of clubs and Saturn in any of your life spreads. In Uranus, we find another odd card, and here it's a 3 of diamonds. The king walks a path that breaks the mold, especially around values and self-worth. He may experiment with different ways of earning, expressing, or sharing his talents. This influence is both rebellious and innovative, urging him to redefine what security and success mean on his own terms. It brings creativity, but also the need to stand apart from societal norms. Uranus is once again different. The Three of Diamonds helps the King of Spades to be different. King of Spades would be different in any case, but here it's just amplified with that Three of Diamonds because it's a variety, it's a creativity. Once again, threes are mental cards. And so they are thinking differently. They're thinking in terms of expansion and expansion of values because the kingdom needs to be grown. And it needs to be grown by breaking things up, by reinventing things. Maybe by conquering, maybe by improving. Because just because you have a kingdom doesn't mean that everything functions well or that everything is still functioning well. Things need to be renewed. Things need to be changed. And the Five of Clubs in Saturn already was the prelude to that. And the Three of Diamonds in Uranus almost tops it off. Rebellious and innovative, urging him to redefine what security and success mean on his own terms. But then again, Three of Diamonds is a card that, wants to expand the earnings. Maybe the king suffers in his kingdom from inflation. So he needs to make more money to derive the same value from it. Weird system that we've created there for ourselves. That money loses value. That's something that we do away with. Talking of doing away with, here we've got transformation, and we've got the transformation in Neptune because it's the Ace of Spades. A deeply spiritual and mystical influence. The Ace of Spades in Neptune marks a soul constantly awakening. The King of Spades may appear strong and pragmatic, but this card reveals a spiritual hunger that drives him inward. Seeking transformation, not just results. This is the seed of inner death and rebirth, calling the king to shed ego and reconnect with something larger than self. Dreams and intuition hold truth if he's willing to listen. It's another spades card, and it brings him back in his own suit to the very beginning, because the Ace of Spades desires wisdom, and it desires wisdom under the energy or energetic influence of Neptune, which is about dreams, which is about visions, which is about healing, which is way out there, traveling also with the mind, but here it travels into the spiritual realm with that Ace of Spades, that the card of transformation. And it connects to the Neptunian energy. And that is as interesting as it is brilliant, because he has reached the end as a king, but he's thrown right back to the beginning with the ace. Transforming, always keeping things anew, always keeping things afresh. And with that Ace of Spades, it's about insight, spiritual transformation. So even though you're a king, you keep learning. The seed of inner death and rebirth. Dreams and intuition hold truth if he is willing to listen. Nice. So even for the king at the highest level, here he's called to a step back, to slow down, to listen to his inner voice, connect to the spiritual realm. Dreams and intuition hold truth if he's willing to listen. And that leaves us really finally with Pluto. And that is the first card on the Venus line, the Seven of Hearts. And it says here, the final influence is perhaps the most humbling. The Seven of Hearts in Pluto demands unconditional love, even when ego is stripped away. The king is asked to let go of emotional expectations, to give without need, to trust without control. It's the final test of leadership, to remain open-hearted while holding power, and to release the need to be right in favor of simply being love. And I love the outro. The King of Spades doesn't arrive at the top by accident. He climbs each rung of the ladder, integrating the lessons of every suit, every card, every life. Even at the peak, his journey continues, because the truest master is the one who never stops learning. If this is your card, you carry the whole deck in your bones, and your task is to live with humility, clarity, and grace. The King of Spades rounds off and finishes our series of the 52 playing cards explained in relative detail. Obviously, the King of Spades is a fixed card, so it doesn't have a karma card, not one that he displaces, not one that he is displaced by. So he's got very fixed principles, but he's reminded to keep innovating and to keep learning. And if you embody this energy to keep innovating and to keep learning, you stay flexible. And flexibility is something that is deeply important, especially as you grow older, because as we grow older, we usually become inflexible. Inflexible in love, inflexible in mind, inflexible in values, and inflexible in spirit. But that's exactly when we need to improve our flexibility in those 4 areas. Become more flexible when it comes to love. Become more flexible when it comes to knowledge, to learning, to changing, to adapting. Becoming flexible when it comes to our value system, because what was once valuable no longer is. Now we are older and we have neglected maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or even all of those areas. And we need to re-evaluate. And we also need to be flexible when it comes to spirit. We need to be flexible when it comes to our health and our lifestyle and our work. Because as we grow older, maybe the services that we have rendered and offered are no longer in demand. Maybe our health has been compromised or has deteriorated to a large extent. And we need to look after ourselves again because we haven't done that over the last years or decades. And how about the spiritual side? Do we still connect to the spiritual realm? Do we still have visions? Do we still have dreams? Do we still work on the cooperation of the conscious mind and subconscious mind? Do we still develop new visions? Or do we just see ourselves on a slippery slope and a slow decay into physical death? Not necessary. Do we believe the mainstream? Do we believe what the doctors in the white coats have told us? Or do we find our own truth? That age is a construct and that we define how strong, how flexible, and how enduring we are. Both when it comes to the emotions, the mental side, the material side, and the physical side, especially in the spade suit, last suit of our life, so to say. Physical strength, muscle tone, physical flexibility. Can I move? Can I still go down and squat? Can I move around when I squat? Can I pull myself up? Can I push myself up? Am I enduring? Can I run 2Ks, 5Ks, 10Ks? Running, cycling, inline skating. And do I go and seek the silence? Do I connect? Do I meditate? Do I bring order into my breathing, into my blood flow, into my brain waves? All questions that you may ask yourself, no matter what age, no matter where you are, because those things are not prerequisites, but they are requisites for your entire or during your entire lifetime. You always want to be strong, physically strong. You always want to be flexible, and you always want to be enduring in all areas. Physically, yes, but also as far as your values are concerned, your mind is concerned, and your feelings are concerned. Thank you very much for staying with me. Really appreciate it. And if you liked it, let me know. If you have anything to add, anything to criticize, please let me know. It was a pleasure creating all those videos, because with this video going live, I will, within 9 weeks have created over 150 videos. A short, a podcast version, 6-7 minutes, and this extended version. This is massive, and I don't think anyone has ever done this before. And I've done it for you to connect or reconnect to the cards and to understand how much value and meaning you'll find behind the system of cardology. Helmar Rudolph once again says thank you, really appreciate you staying with me, and I'll see you in another video. Bye-bye.